everybody. Hello. It's Quest. Point and click adventure game podcast. The one. I'm Ben.
And good golly, Miss Molly, I'm Jess.
Wow. What a show we have cooked up for you. And today we're going to be talking. This is a first for us. We're going to be talking about a brand new game.
Brand spanking new.
Yeah. You'll spank this game. We're talking about Locomotive, which came out this year, or maybe I don't know when this comes out. Probably this year, or maybe a little bit last year if this comes out in early 2025. I'm not sure when this will come out. Anyway,
in some year in the mid 2020s, this podcast was recorded and the game also came out.
That's right. Now, Jess, I actually didn't mention this to you, but we have an email. We have an email.
An email?
Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Because I said I didn't mention it. So I don't know why I said I didn't mention this and then say, did you know that?
I thought we agreed in the interest of transparency, we would read one another's emails as long as we were partnered in this podcast.
Yeah, that's true. And I'm the only one that has access to our podcast email. All right.
By design.
So this is a email from our friend Todd. Let me turn on the tune.
Oh, there it is.
Oh.
Take me to the lounge.
Yeah,
the email lounge.
Welcome to the email lounge. You can become a member of the email lounge. You can look behind the velvet curtain by sending us an email at questpodcast@gmail.com. Much like Todd did. Now, here's Todd's email. Hello, this is Todd, average_goon on Twitch. Firstly, I wanted to share how much I appreciate the podcast. It definitely helps make work hours a little more pleasant. Go a little faster. Second, in response to episode 1's, a podcast is something that used to be played on an iPod. Todd has provided a screenshot of the the Quest for Glory episode playing on an iPod.
The Todd Pod?
It's on a Todd Pod, but it's an actual iPod. An actual iPod. I have a photo here, and Todd goes on. This is not just me being a hipster in 2024, but also somewhat practical since my work deals in personal info, and therefore doesn't allow internet-connected devices like phones, so iPods are popular in my office.
I want to work there.
Really interesting. BTW, I'm glad you're not releasing episodes as MP4s like episode 1. That was a mistake. That was an error on my part. Third, I can't express how much I relate anytime you guys talk about the loneliness of the adventure game player, the disconnect with other gamers. I mostly remember from my childhood thinking, we both like games, we should be friends. And the other kids mostly talking about which Mega Man weapon was effective against which robot. Well, I was thinking, we gotta do something about this Mananan guy. He seems pretty bad. Even recently, my office full of video game lovers asked which games I played, and I said, Return of the Obra Dinn, Disco Elysium, thinking they were recent popular hits. And I just got strange looks. Anyway, I love the pod and a fan of your streams as well. Todd! Thank you, Todd.
Thank you very much, Todd.
Excellent lounge.
Everything about that. Just wonderful. I want to work in an office where everyone has iPods. First of all, I think we can all agree on that. That would be a better world to live in. And yes, the loneliness of the adventure gamer, I think, is a theme that we're bound to return to at various points in this adventure we're on together. So it is a lonely world out there for the person who is deeply invested in what happens next in Freddie Farkas' Frontier Pharmacist.
Yeah. I loved this email. I also I responded to him. I was like, how did the battery, because I'm sure some of you are wondering at home, how do you have a functioning iPod battery in 2024? And it is modded off of Etsy, and so it has a
Oh
modern
wow.
battery.
And Ben, if I could ask, I didn't
Yeah.
see the visual with this. Are we talking nano? Are we talking iPod
I
touch? Are we
uh I'm not a iPod expert, but this is the one with the color screen.
Oh,
So
okay.
Todd could probably watch an episode of Family Guy on it.
That's okay. That definitely gives me something to work with. Okay. It does have a
I
click wheel, I guess is the big question.
it
Click.
it has, I mean, don't they all have a wheel?
I think eventually the iPod touch just became like an iPhone without
Oh, it does.
yeah,
Yeah,
without
no.
yeah.
So it wasn't a touch.
Okay, good, good,
Because
good.
I
That
think
would
the
be Wi-Fi
problem,
enabled.
well,
Yeah.
yeah, that would be Wi-Fi enabled. So, I have a follow-up question for Todd that I'm not going to email. You'll just have to listen to it. Is there anyone in your office with a Zune, or is it just everyone? Does anyone have a Zune or a Zen, or a MP3 CD player? That an MP3 CD player probably offers too many extra steps, because then you have to have like something to burn CDs, and that
Right. Where are you getting
would
that these days? Yeah.
it. Now, Jess, did you have an iPod?
I had an iPod. I had a
Okay.
series of iPod Nanos. Like I really liked the small form of a good iPod Nano. So I had two or three of those along the way until I eventually made the leap to iPhone.
I had Zens, which was creatives,
Yes,
because we love creative.
yeah, top notch.
And then I also had a Zune. And you want to know what? The Zune was great.
Did you use all of those great sharing features to share music with everyone else you knew who had a Zune?
Yeah.
Did you ever meet a second person with a Zune? I guess would be the big
I
question.
never met another person with a Zune, not one. I didn't meet a single. I just know it had a wonderful, like, for especially for something made by Microsoft. It had an incredible UI. It looked great. It
Mhm.
looked so sharp and so nice. Like, I remember getting it and being like, "Wow, this is the future. The Zune is the future."
Yeah, I mean, it seemed cool in all the ways that like an iPod chose one direction you can be cool in, which is like the sleek, ultra modern look. And the Zune had a chunkiness that I thought was cool in its own right.
Yeah. Well, and that's the whole, like, PC Mac thing,
Yeah.
you just like them
Yeah.
chunky.
Yeah. I'm a real like John Hodgman. And I think, a lot of
Yeah,
people out there are more Justin Longs
right.
when it comes to I actually went to a Zune store once. Have you ever been to a Zune store?
I didn't know that Zunes had a store.
Zunes had a store, or at least they had a store in a mall in Columbus, Ohio, that I once visited, and I was like, "Oh my god, I can't believe I'm in a Zune store."
Yeah, that is eh,
It
how
probably wouldn't.
long did Zune stores last?
Yeah, I think they might have been rebranded at some point.
Well,
You
there's
know
not
what?
even like a Windows store
Yeah, you know what would really helped it probably stay
or like an
open?
Xbox store.
Yeah, if they had sold iPhones and iPods, they probably could have stayed open longer. I think their
Yeah.
big mistake was selling Zunes.
Well, or maybe it should have become like a launch pad for like all other, like they should have banded together with the Zens and other
Yeah,
like MP3s. It's like alternative MP3 options. Uh yeah, I mean, I here's the thing though, like an Apple store sells like did a Zune store just sell Zunes and Zune
I
accessories?
think it sold
Or like,
Microsoft stuff.
okay.
And like Zune was just like for a brief moment the branding of a broader Microsoft
Like
retail location, which doesn't need to exist.
in the way that like they rebranded like games for Windows into Xbox on
Yeah.
Windows or whatever it is
Yeah.
now.
Yes. I mean, anything can be an Xbox, first of all. Like,
Oh, brother.
yeah, this microphone I'm speaking into right now is an Xbox.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I just have to subscribe.
That must have been that must have been a like, I'm just kind of listen, everybody's joked on this, this Xbox whatever, like this anything could be an Xbox ad campaign. All I could think about is like the ad pitch meeting for it. It's uh like the Don Draper meeting
Mhm.
for it. But yeah, I don't want to go. Everybody's clowned on this, and this is already coming out like 2 weeks from when we record it.
That's
So it's
right.
going to be like it's already late now, and then we're going to add more time, and people are going to be
Mhm.
like, "What the fuck are they talking about?"
I just feel like if I could go to a Microsoft executive, I could quickly think of some things they would immediately disavow as being Xboxes. Like, I think
Right.
there are a lot of things you could easily say, it's like, actually, that one's not an Xbox.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just don't know. I don't believe when they say, anything could be an Xbox. But that's beside the point. Ben, what I want to know,
Yes.
what have you been playing?
Well, Jess, what I've been
Yes.
well, I've been playing other than this week's game, which neither of us finished, and that wasn't the objective. We're just providing impressions
First
at home. These are
impressions.
impressions. Other than that, I have been playing Dragon Quest 3 HD.
Wow. Tell me about that.
So Dragon Quest 3 HD. It's very funny. Like, so first off, it
It's
is
short for
in.
hitting dragons.
Yes, that's right. You figured it out. You figured out the code. So Dragon Quest 3 Hitting Dragons edition is first off, it's in like the Octopath Traveler style where it has like the 2D sprites on a 3D world, which I like. I when I saw like trailers and stuff. I have not played either of the Octopath's Traveler. But I looked at that and I was like, I don't know. I don't know how that looks. But you know what? It looks really great in this. Like this is a really beautiful looking game. It plays perfectly on a Steam Deck. Um and what I really like about it is that Dragon Quest 3 came out like first off, I'm not a Dragon Questman. I've played half of Dragon Quest 11, which is the most recent one, I believe. And it's not even that I quit playing, like I quit playing it out of lack of interest. It was just that I got like derailed and then like by the time I was re-railed, I was like, oh, it's been too long since I've played this. I don't remember anything about this. Anyway, so that's the only one I've really put any significant amount of time into. And Dragon Quest 3 was an NES game. Uh they've remade it multiple times. Like I think they made it on the SNES and they made it on the Game Boy, and I think like probably like listen, I'm sure there are Dragon Quest heads out there who are like, don't forget it was also remade here and here and here and here. And I don't know any of that. And I'm not even going to look at Wikipedia to get an answer on that. I just know,
Absolutely not. It's
yeah,
not that kind of podcast.
no,
Now,
no.
Ben, I,
Oh,
I I have to admit, I know
yeah,
very little about
right.
Dragon Quest. Now, am I correct in thinking that this is it also Dragon Warrior? Is this the same
Dragon
franchise?
Warrior, yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
So this is
I
also known as Dragon Warrior 3 in the
okay.
United States of America.
I believe that I have played the NES version of some game in this series. Like I think that is the last time I touched this, and I touched it like in 1987 or whenever that would have been the appropriate time to
I
play
think
it.
this came out in 89,
Okay,
I
so
think.
I've had probably a pre-release copy, thanks
Mhm.
to my uncle who worked at Nintendo.
Oh, yes. Your
But
your junkle.
my
Your
ju- my
Jess's
ju-
uncle.
yes, I thought it was like a junkie uncle.
Yeah, well, he was also he was
Just not a great guy.
yeah, he has
Um,
a lot of problems. We don't have to get into his junkles various antisocial tendencies. So what's up, Jess? Tell me
Drunk
about
Junkle, is that a
your
thing? No, I mean, I don't
yeah.
remember. Is it a game like when I think of this again? This feels like it was something I rented with and took over to my best friend's house to play on his NES. Like I would
Uh-huh.
show up with a rental in hand when I would go to spend the night with him.
Mm-hmm.
And is there fighting a lot of slimes in Dragon Quest? Is that
I
thing?
mean, that's in all of them. That does
Okay,
not
good, good,
narrow
good.
it down.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's the only like.
Dragon Quest is the one with the cute little blue slimes.
Okay, that's all I think. Like the only thing that pops to mind is JRPG, early Final Fantasy sort of vibes, and then slimes. So I'm glad that this is okay. I
So
now have a sense of what you're doing.
yeah, so what's so entertaining and compelling to me about playing this, and I'm now at the part of the game which I assume is like the bulk of the game until the end, which is that I have to now get 6 orbs and there's a big map and I can just kind of wander around and there are various like dungeons and things, and I assume that the orbs are in various dungeons. Very,
That's what I want from a game.
straightforward. But yeah, what I like about it is that for all of the gloss of this Hidden Dragons edition released in 2024, it is very obviously a game made for the Nintendo ES. And like it is, and like they've added, I don't have a basis of comparison, so again, Dragon Quest heads and Dragon Warriors might all be like, no, Ben, this is actually a much more sophisticated narrative than the original. But like when I play it, it's just like oh, this is like a RPG made for the NES with really beautiful graphics and great music. But it's just you've got a party of 4 wandering around a massive world, and you have pretty straightforward tasks and a lot of like just constant monster encounters. And I know that they've like added some stuff, and like some of the stuff they've added has been like stuff I believe from earlier remakes, and like they've added some other new stuff and blah blah blah. I don't know, but it's a very enjoyable game to me for its absolute dungeon crawling simplicity. It's just you got a big map, you got some guys, you wander around, you go up levels, you fight some dragons, you fight some bad guys, you go into the next one. That's it. That's all the game is. Like there's little plot bits and bobs here and there, but it's just, it's whatever.
That's all
Like
you need.
it's
That's all you need.
it is like, so I feel so emotionally uninvolved with the game in a very pleasant way. Like it's
Yeah.
not asking very much of me. It was a great game to play when I was on
Mhm.
a plane.
Not a lot of RP, but a decent bit of G. You're saying, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. The like I would say the RP is like kind of RP, and then G.
Gee, what a great game! Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. No, that sounds like good stuff. Now, were they able for the HD remake? Were they able to get the guy who does all the great font work for all the Square?
Oh,
Were they able to
yes.
get?
Oh.
Because I feel like if you really want a modern version of this on a modern platform, you want some nice sans
There's
serif
there's
like.
some guy at Square that's just like anytime they like release in the 21st century a beloved 80s or 90s game, and like in a
Mhm.
slightly higher resolution, they're like, what's the most dog shit font? Isn't it crazy? Isn't it crazy how cheap a bad font makes a game
Oh
look.
yeah. Well, I mean, especially when it's like we have this beautiful pixel perfect rendition of a game you loved, but you know what? We didn't convert over. It was really easy to do all that art, but to make letters in pixels, do you know how hard it is to make like an uppercase G out of pixels? It's
They're
hard.
like, here's a font we grabbed from the default sans serif collection from Windows 3.1. Like,
This is actually going to be, I don't want to foreshadow, but this is like a minor complaint about the game we'll be talking about today for me. I was actually going to
oh,
complain about the font there too. Now looking back, I wish I hadn't, burn out all of my font
wow.
content here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crafty like a fonts. Anyway, no, the font looks fine in it.
Good, good,
But
good,
it
good,
is
good.
it like and the thing with all of those other ones is apparently it's not especially difficult. I have been told to remedy that. But I'm not doing that.
No, we've established what kind of gamers we are on this podcast. If you're on episode 10 and you don't know what kind of gamers we are, I don't know what I have for you.
I'm a big baby.
Big baby.
I'm a large adult baby. I'm not
Yeah.
spending 1 second changing a font in a game.
No.
That's the worst thing. Jess, are you much a Elder Scrollsman? I forget. I think we've talked
Yeah,
about
yeah.
this. You
I
are?
haven't
Okay.
played the old classic ones, but
I haven't played the older ones.
I
Yeah.
started with Oblivion and have
Okay.
played all of them through since.
Okay. So
Which to say is that
2.
just no wait no. So Morrowind, I did Morrowind.
Okay.
Doy, I forgot. I always forget about Morrowind. But yeah, I did Morrowind and then Oblivion. Yeah, it's not so impressive. To say I started with Oblivion and then played all the rest of them
Yeah,
straight
I was
through
like,
Skyrim.
yeah.
Yeah. Um,
but
but no, I
but
also played Morrowind. Yes, 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 yes,
but
yes.
like Elder Scrolls fans, excuse me, will say to you, "Oh, you haven't really played Morrowind, Oblivion, Skyrim unless you modded them." And I'll say, I've tried, but listen, once again, I'm a large adult child. Do you want me to go to a fucking website that looks like it was designed in 2005 and then download 500 files that all download at 50 kilobytes a second, and then have to slowly and painstakingly order them in a fucking folder so they all load correctly, and then at the end the game crashes anyway?
Yeah,
You want
while
me to do
reading
that?
while reading like a 46-step simple tutorial on how to do this. Yeah, I mean no, or you can download some sort of very shady app that maybe will mod things out for you. I don't love that process either. If I mod things, like I played Fallout New Vegas several months ago.
Right.
And I did like all the quality of life mods. I downloaded some sort of mod manager and did all those. I don't really want to change the game when I'm modding things. Like honestly, I'm sometimes even like, you know what? I don't need DLC. I want the game the way that the developers
That
intended.
George Washington intended it.
That's right. The way that
Founding
God, our
fathers.
heavenly
Yeah.
creator,
Okay.
created this game, divinely inspired. Yeah, that's all I want. I say that right after mentioning Morrowind, which has one of my favorite DLCs of all time, the Shivering Isles DLC. So, or
Right.
expansion, I suppose, as we called them back then. But no, I'm not a modsman either.
All right. Well, that was a particularly long discussion that went in all sorts of directions about Dragon Quest hitting Dragons Edition. Jess, what have you been playing?
Oh man, I wish I was playing some sort of new game or a new remake of an old game, but instead,
You're not playing. You didn't reinstall World of Warcraft, did you?
Ben, it's the next worst thing.
Overwatch. It's Overwatch, isn't it?
It's Overwatch. It's
Ah!
over.
It's because you started playing Marvel Rivals, and then you said, "I want to play the real thing." That's what happened.
It's basically what happened.
That's
Yes.
exactly what happened.
Yes, that's exactly what happened. So when I say basically, I mean precisely. I mean, first of all, I played some Marvel Rivals, and I mean, it is just it's just Overwatch. I mean, it's just Overwatch. It's Overwatch only now Genji looks like Psylocke. It
Oh,
just
this is, you might as well be talking about I don't know, Dragon Quest to you.
yeah, no. This is good. I think
I have no feelings about Overwatch. The last game of that flavor I played was probably Team Fortress 2.
I
And
have
that
to
was
say,
like in
yeah.
2007, to be
Ben,
clear.
I don't know if you know this about me, but I once upon a time in the Overwatch 1 days was a severe Overwatch head. Like
I think
I
I did know that. I knew that.
I'm not joking when I say I've never said this out loud before. I have over 1,000 hours in Overwatch. Yeah, no, it doesn't sound good when you say it out loud, is it? Please never divide that by 24 and like start to give me a sense of, like how many days of my life that I've spent playing Overwatch. But this is a reality and it's not addictive to me in quite the same way that World of Warcraft is. But I have to say, as someone who doesn't play a lot of online cooperative type games, nothing in the world feels better than when an Overwatch team is actually syncing up. Like when you and
Mhm.
now 4 other players, it used to be 5, they made a horrible mistake to go 5v5 instead of 6v6. But that's beside the point. When you and those 4 other players are syncing up, it is the most amazing feeling in all of gaming. You feel like you are the greatest gamer that's ever lived. And I'm competing at almost the lowest level possible in this game. I am terrible at it. I'm terrible at it. This is not going to be a game I'm good
Yeah.
at.
This is just funny to me, and I know I'm actually kind of an outlier in, like, I love Civilization. I love Civ.
Yeah.
I play Civ. Like, the Civ 7 is coming out. I'm buying that at release. Love Civ. Um uh Civ 6 is my most played game on Steam. How many hours do you think I have on it, Jess? Take a guess.
632,
No. Lower,
147,
higher.
243.
247.
Whoa, that's not bad.
And that's funny because it's like when I talk to friends, they're like, "Oh yes, I have 1,000 hours in Civ."
Yeah. You're like a
But
noob to them. They're like, yeah. So have you gotten past the tutorial yet? Like that's
no,
yeah.
and I want to be clear, I have not gotten past the tutorial in Civ. Uh,
It's really hard
yeah.
moving those
I
units
have
around.
161 in Civ 5.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be surprised if I had more. Maybe I had more in Civ 4 just because that came out in college, and the fuck are you doing then?
Yeah.
Uh,
I hate to say this, but I think there are characters in Overwatch because it keeps track by character how many hours you have. I think there are characters in Overwatch that I've played more hours than maybe almost any other game I've ever interacted with. Like just a single character. And then there's another one that's not far behind that. It's really tragic.
what characters? Let's hear this.
Okay. My most played character is
Yeah,
going
this
to
is this
be
is just for the people at home that know
yeah,
this. This
it's Lucio. It's Lucio. He is a DJ who kind of rollerblades around and plays music that can either speed up his teammates or
Mhm.
heal them
Mhm.
alternatively.
Mhm.
So he is a very cool DJ guy. So that is my main. Although lately I've been playing a very exciting character. She's a newer addition to the game. She's a tank by the name of Junker Queen. She's
Is is
like a Mad
Overwatch
Max
2
style.
is Overwatch 2 gone? Is it dead?
I mean, like officially or
Well,
like
because
spiritually.
because you're talking about a new character in Overwatch, and I know that they made a sequel, and so I just wouldn't assume that they would be adding new characters. That's why I asked.
Yeah, they brought over all the old characters to Overwatch 2 and have been adding new ones to that. Basically,
So
Overwatch
this
2
is
just replaces.
Oh, so when
Yeah, I've
you
been playing
say
Overwatch 2
Overwatch,
technically. Yeah.
I see. Oh, okay,
You can't
okay.
play Overwatch 1 anymore. It's gone. Blizzard just
Wow.
yanked it away and converted all your stuff into Overwatch 2. But yeah, the Junker Queen is like an angry Mad Max Australian wastelander. I'd hesitate to use the word muscle mommy, but she's also not a muscle mommy.
Never heard that
Uh,
phrase.
Maybe I just made it up.
I mean, maybe like I'm not gonna Google that because I'm not interested. in what
I've got
that
some
will do.
bookmarks I can send you.
What that will do to like if I'm looking at like any given website, like what it will like the advertisements that will start to show.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, no, but yeah, I'm playing Overwatch again. I'm not proud of it because Overwatch 2 is like the grossest version of monetization and everything else that maybe I've ever seen in any online game. And that's saying a lot. I mean, it is like, how would you like $40 skin? Because we've got some for this first person shooter. Ooh, yeah. Yeah. But it's a free to play game, so that's it's a great deal in that regard. Don't play Overwatch, kids. Don't make the mistake. Basically, I should not interact with Blizzard in any capacity.
You should Jess, you should get an invite to Deadlock and see what you think about that if you're just playing this shit.
I hated Rivals. Let me say I hated. Let me walk that back. Let me walk that. Rivals is gorgeous. It is. Marvel Rivals is. This. I think NetEase developed it. It's Overwatch with a Marvel coat of paint, but just barely. And even the interface looks exactly like Overwatch, but I don't care for it. It's a little too slow for me, and the characters are a little too wacky. I got to play
Is
like
it what platforms is Marvel Rivals on?
I think it's everything. I think it's PC, Xbox, PlayStation. Probably not Switch.
Yeah, probably not.
But, yeah, it's cross-platformy.
Okay.
We should play around. I think
I'm
Ben,
not
you'd be a
going
great
to.
Captain America.
Great.
I played like 3 rounds on it. Yeah, I'm just going to play some more Overwatch.
Ugh. Yeah, ugh. Ugh. Ugh.
Well, let's talk about a game that we both enjoyed and neither one of us is ashamed of playing.
Right? Yeah, not ashamed. We've been playing Locomotive, and all right. So to set some boundaries on this, this neither of us have completed this game. I would say we're both about about a third through.
You're a little far.
I'm a little further than Jess.
A third-ish.
Yeah, and then this so we just essentially both have like kind of first impressions. We'll talk about the game and I don't think like this will have spoilers in as much as like hearing anything about something like if you like to go in like completely super blind, I don't want to know anything, like we will to be talking about a game, but I don't think like this will contain, we're not going to like we haven't even finished the game.
I don't think we'll
uh
spoil much more than like the Steam description
yeah,
spoils the game.
like
Yeah.
the Steam description describes it, like any given review of the game, like that describes like the plot and the characters, and like we'll talk about, I'm sure, a couple puzzles here and there, and our opinions so far, but yeah, so I guess on the pepper scale, like super mild, but this is you'll be okay. You'll be
Yeah.
okay.
Don't worry. We will not ruin the
Or
game
you can
for
just
you.
stop and you enjoyed our incredible discussion where I razzed Jess for playing Overwatch.
Yeah. And if you're stopping early, can I encourage you go rate and review podcast. Not that you have like 40 minutes on your hands. Go
Yeah.
write a lengthy review of Quest, the adventure game podcast.
So okay. Locomotive.
Locomotive.
So yes, I made it all the way up to the start. A little bit into part 3. How far did you make it, Jess?
I made it halfway-ish into part 2, a little, so a little bit less, but enough to get a vibe for the game, and a vibe that I really dig. I think this is a game for folks who really love old school point and click adventure games. I think it is a very very loving modern spin on the genre. This is right up my alley. I'm just going to put all my cards on the table.
Wow, your cards are entirely on the table. This is and I'm trying to look up how many parts there are. This is, for a little background, this was originally an like a Advent X. What's that called?
Adventurix.
Adventrix. It was a game jam. It was
Yes.
a Advent X Jam 2020 like proof of concept that you can still play on itch, it looks like. And I have not. Um but and then they expanded it into a full game, which is very impressive.
Yeah, and if y'all don't know what this game is, I mean, the short version
Yeah,
is
explain.
it's a murder on a train, I mean, which has never been done before.
No, they
I think
invented it.
that's yeah. But no, I mean, it's a murder on a train. It's a point and click adventure game. It is very much leaning into the comedy, maybe more so even than it's leaning into the mystery elements of it. And it's quite lovely, lush pixel art. I'm sure we'll talk more about that. But yeah, this is a classic train murder mystery. I'm up.
Yeah, and and I am going to all right, so this has 6 chapters. There we go.
Okay, so you're
6
probably
parts.
getting toward the halfway mark.
Yeah, I'm at about the midway point on the game. Yeah, so it is now Jess, when we were talking before this, you kind of wanted to talk about like mystery games in general. Is that correct?
Yeah, I thought that, something I was thinking about as I played this was the challenge of writing an adventure game in the mystery genre. Because on the one hand, there are a lot of those out there, going all the way back at least to the Infocom days,
Yep.
all the way up through your various Sherlock Holmes games, your Gabriel Knights of the world, your Tex Murphys. Lately I've been
Crimson
playing,
Diamond
Crimson Diamond. Lately
also
I've been
came out this
playing
year.
the Gray Matter game by Jane Jensen.
That a mystery game?
It is sort of a mystery. It's mysterious.
Well,
Blackwell.
it's something being mysterious. A mystery does not make.
Well, I guess it's purported. Well, I mean, this is the problem. It is a game that purports to be a mystery game where you're not really doing investigation. You're not really deducting. You're not really even meaningfully gathering clues. You're kind of just doing a point and click adventure against the backdrop of what seems to be a mystery story. In the case of Gray Matter. And I'm curious, what are the challenges? Do you think that this one feels like you're actually out there investigating?
No, this is
And I don't
not.
think it tries to be.
This
I don't
is
think it tries to be.
a adventure game, like a narrative adventure game, like set during a mystery.
Yes.
Like something like Crimson Diamond, which I'm sure we'll be talking about on a future episode because it was a wonderful game. And which I highly recommend, and I have
Yeah.
finished it. That I loved. That is a mystery game because that game has, or like either of the Laura Bows, which obviously Crimson Diamond goes a little bit to. But in Crimson Diamond, you are expressly investigating. There are things that you can miss. You have to put like kind of pieces together to kind of solve things. You have like a little notepad where you are like kind of like it's keeping track of all the evidence, and then as you gain evidence you are able to make more conclusions and like look deeper into the mystery, specifically in Crimson Diamond, but I believe this is part of the Laura Bow games as well.
Yeah.
Like in Crimson Diamond, there's stuff that you could just straight up miss. And indeed I did on my playthrough, which is exciting for me to go back and play again. And I think that's by design. Like it's by design.
Mm-hmm.
So I go back and there's a little more for me, like a little more meat on the bone.
I feel like Locomotive is a mystery game, like in the same sense that Sam and Max Hit the Road is a mystery game. It's
Sure.
like, yeah, you're like nominally trying to solve a mystery, but it's more of like a genre to hang a point and click adventure game on rather than, a mystery that just happens to be a point and click adventure game.
Yeah, like there's I mean I and we'll hold it from this podcast as like maybe that is a little too spoilery, but it's like I have guesses as to like so you're on a train, there's a rich old woman, a whole bunch of like wealthy swells are in like the ballroom on the train, and then the lights all go out and the woman's dead, the rich old woman, and now like the
Her
game
estate
starts
is up
out.
for grabs.
Yeah, and in the game begins, you ultimately, and this is again listed as one of the features, like you ultimately take control of three different characters over the course of the game. You start out as her personal lawyer, um, and but like later on, there's a mystery novelist and like another character that you control. Um, but like I have a theory as to like, who did it, but like that's not what the game is. You're not like in the first two parts of the game where you're her lawyer character, it's not like you have objectives and you go around and you solve them, but it's not like your objective is to like kind of put these pieces together to figure out who killed her. It's just normal kind of adventure game stuff.
Yeah. How do I get past this person to get access to a different train car? Oh, I've figured out what item I need to present him with that will make him move out of the way.
So Jess, I didn't tell you this, but I ran into a very adventure gamey thing when I was playing Locomotive
Oh.
earlier, which is
Oh.
I soft locked myself,
Really?
which is absolutely not intentional. It was a bug. I'm
Ooh,
absolutely
no.
sure. I soft locked myself. I like I would have been actually farther by the time we played this if it wasn't for that. I hard soft locked, like I had to restart the game. Um Fortunately it wasn't too far, but what it was at the um so there's like a prologue sequence where you're the lawyer, aforementioned lawyer character. You're kind of wandering around this train. And I like just went up because I wasn't quite sure like what type of game this was. So I just interacted with everything and did everything I could. Like I adventure gamed the hell out of it. I picked
Oh,
up
absolutely.
every single thing I could. I exhausted every single dialogue option
Every
with
hot spot.
every single character that would talk to me. I did all of that. And so I got like a whole like I had a full inventory, and then I went to like the event which ends the prologue, which is actually like the moment where the old woman gets killed, and then the actual game begins, part one begins. And so when I played it, when I made it to part one, like I just started wandering around and I'm like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? Like, and I talked to everyone. I rubbed every inventory item on everything. I'm just like, I like this is the start of a game, and it's like an adventure game that came out in 2024, so I doubt that it's especially super difficult. At least this early, it's not going to throw a puzzle, so it's like I don't understand what's going on. And then I did and then so I just like and the game also has like a hint line in it.
Yeah, you can literally pick up a phone and call someone for a hint.
Right. And so
Dirk
I like
Chiswell? Is that like the name?
yeah, and so I called the hint line, and that wasn't help, and I'm just like, "What the fuck?" And so I go online to a walkthrough because I'm just like, "All right, well, I give up and I gotta record a podcast soon, like, this is ridiculous." And, the character that like, it's like, uh talk to this character and he'll get into this like a situation, and he'll drop his keys, and that
Oh.
character had already moved on to his next location,
Ah.
so he never dropped his keys.
Ooh.
So I was just straight up locked out. I was just straight up like dead man walking. I had to
Which is a
be
professional adventure game podcaster.
right.
Had to be rough on you.
Yeah, and I was like, I got to record a podcast soon. Like, I got to get like, the clock is ticking. And so I restarted, and then like I took special care, and I didn't get soft lock, thank God. And but it, I was like, if I saved a little earlier, like the worst part was it's like since I wasn't far in the game, but I did have to like skip through like 50 cutscenes.
Yes. Yes. I mean, this is something that I read about in some of the reviews. I think that some of these sorts of bugs aren't unheard of. I've had a very smooth playthrough. I haven't encountered any problems yet, but I know this is something that reviewers pointed out. And I imagine there's a good chance by the time our listeners are hearing this, I know they've patched the game at least once already. It wouldn't surprise me if some of this stuff hasn't been addressed already. But yeah, that's come up elsewhere. So, but I haven't encountered anything of the same type. What do you think? I mean, we start this game, as you said, as Arthur Ackerman, right? This
Yeah,
is
Arthur
uh,
Ackerman.
the old lady Unterwald's estate attorney.
Right.
He's in charge of drawing up her will, which apparently she's been frequently changing the way that murder victims in these situations often do
Right.
before they meet their
Like
untimely
Knives
demise.
Out or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think of Arthur as an adventure game protagonist? He's the one
Oh,
I've spent the most time with.
yeah. He's funny,
He's good.
I really
He's a
like
dweeb.
their yeah,
He's
I
a big,
really
muscly, good-looking dweeb.
yeah, I really like so here's a question. So he's a dweeb. Uh why are so many adventure game protagonists dweebs?
I think because the most beloved adventure game protagonists, or maybe just the most beloved adventure game protagonist, Guybrush Threepwood is a dweeb. And I think that so many people making modern adventure games are looking back to Guybrush, and that sort of character works for them at some level. And this guy, I mean, this guy has. I mean, again, we say he's a dweeb, but if you see him in the game, he is a handsome, tuxedoed, looking guy. He's a cool, handsome man who's ultimately the world's biggest dork. He has some of that Hermes Conrad
Yeah. He
love of
does have
bureaucracy
right, yes.
and filing papers, and he meets an accountant at one point and
And
is
he's
just
like, "Oh,
fascinated.
tell me about accounting."
Yes, he just can't get enough of this guy's stories that he's reticently sharing about accounting. So this guy he's a very specific kind of dweeb.
Mhm.
But yeah, I would say it all just goes back to a game that everyone who loves this genre loved, famously stars a dweeb.
Yeah, because it's like Roger Wilco is a dweeb, and he predates
Mm-hmm.
Guybrush, but
Leisure Suit Larry is definitely a dweeb.
it's like there are so many dweeb protagonists. Like there's Guybrush and Roger Wilco and Larry, and
Mm-hmm.
then you kind of
Bernard.
look at Bernard, yeah, and then you look at like say Graham, who's kind of like a cipher. There's not very much you could
No,
say about him.
not much there.
Yeah, there's Sonny Bonds, not very much there. Uh, Bob and Threadbare, he's just a little boy. Uh,
I would
uh,
say Gabriel Knight is ultimately a dweeb that isn't aware he's a dweeb.
Gabriel Knight is fair. Like it's very funny because it's like, oh, he's like this sexy rapscallion. He like like he sleeps around and he's got messy hair and he's like kind of, but he does like I think the arc of the adventure game protagonist universe just bends towards dweebiness.
And that's Arthur. I mean, and he's a good version of a dweeb. Like, I think that, I mean, with this sort of game, especially, I mean, it's a game more in the LucasArts style, which is to say it doesn't have a narrator. You're
The
mostly,
character addresses the audience,
yes, exactly.
like,
Yeah, you're getting
as asides. This also, we didn't mention, this has beautiful pixel art, which is just
gorgeous.
funny. Like, that's the shorthand for this is an adventure game now.
Yes. And it reminds me a lot of Sam and Max Hit the Road there. Like the close ups that you get occasionally of in certain scenes and stuff remind me of some bits from
Well,
Hit the Road.
actually, the game that this made me think of the most, playing it, is it actually made me think a lot about Return to Monkey Island, because that has a lot
Ooh,
of
yes.
really great used for comedy effect, like close-ups that look
Mhm.
really nice, and they were all pretty funny. And then
Yes.
also a thing that I think Return to Monkey Island was the first to do.
I love this.
But
I know what you're
if
doing.
yeah.
Yeah.
But if someone else did this first, mea culpa, um, is that in Return to Monkey Island, the subtitles on each of the hotspots are written in the voice of Guybrush's thoughts, which give you a little bit of an extra clue. Like you look at, like, so you mouse over something, and it, like, instead of saying like a book, it's at, like, it will be like, ugh, that book is way too long. I'm just making it like it's written within the point of view of the character.
And it's
And
clever. It's a little space for an extra joke.
yep,
It's a little space for an extra hint.
yep, yep.
It was used beautifully in Return to Monkey Island. Maybe arguably one of my favorite things about
That
Return to
was
Monkey Island.
one of the most striking things when I started playing Return to Monkey Island. I was like, wow, that is such a nice little thing.
Yes. Why didn't someone come up with this 20 years earlier?
Yeah, I
It's
was like, I wish that, like, yeah, they adventure games had done this sooner, unless they already did and we both missed it.
yeah, absolutely. But no, I
And
love
so
that
this
about
game
this. This
has
is
those.
yeah, and they're really well done. I mean, I said earlier I was going to bag on the font. The font gives me some real like this is like a 2 Point Hospital style sim, and again, you have like a weird, just like sans serif font against a bunch of pixel arty
It is
graphics.
interesting. The font doesn't bother me as much as it bothers you, but I mean, I can see, like, especially if you look at screenshots of like the itch, like the Game Jam original version, they did
Hmm.
use like the LucasArts like pixel font or something that looked
Yes,
like that. Um
the
and
game's dripping with personality, and then
well,
the font is not.
Well, but like the UI is kind of like in a more like kind of slick anti-alias
Hmm.
like kind of way, and so the font
Hmm.
fits in there.
Hmm.
So I don't know. It doesn't bump me in the same way it sounds like it's
Yeah, I
bumping
mean, it
you.
doesn't bum me out much. It is the most nitpicky thing you could complain about in a gorgeous looking game. Let me tell you the thing that like really strikes me in this game when I'm just like, oh god, what a beautiful use of pixel art. And this is the most random little background detail, but because this is set in like the glamorous Orient Express style murder train scenario,
Murder
um,
Train.
Murder Train,
Yeah.
Midnight Meat Train. Do you remember that Bradley Cooper movie?
Midnight Meat Train
I think that's a movie.
sounds
Okay, quickly to Google. You might also not
I
want
don't know. Yeah,
to.
I don't know.
Okay,
Yeah, Google Midnight
two,
Meat Train and Muscle Mommy.
yeah, 2008, starring Bradley Cooper. The Midnight Meat Train. That's our movie recommendation for the evening. But you're on a murder train, and it's got that sort of glamorous murder train
What
vibe
about
to
a
it.
money plane? Sorry.
But what I love about it is you have various characters who are smoking in the background of scenes,
Hmm.
and the pixel art of them exhaling smoke and then it dissipating into the background around them is like watching a series of like little varying shades of gray and white pixels slowly fade out against the background is just like, this is beautiful. Like, just what a nice use of pixel art. And yeah, the playing with opacity, playing with shadows and lighting and everything. This is just a gorgeous game.
Yeah, it's so funny, like with this like this pixel art style. It's so funny that this is like a signifier of, it's like, oh, we're doing a game that's in the style of like, it's like a point and click adventure of old. I will note, I've played this entirely on my couch with an Xbox gamepad.
Yeah.
I played this as a console adventure game. And it
You know,
works great. But
it's funny too, because you say that, and then you think like, boy, Return to Monkey Island got so much flack for not being in that style. Like people, yeah, there were like angry fans that it wasn't pixel art.
Well, yeah. But what I like the pixel art in this is like would be impossible in 1992, you know?
Mhm.
Like not only in terms of like, I don't know, if this has like more than 256 colors, like maybe it does, I don't know. But also it's like it's high frame rate. There's a ton of animation, a lot of really great animation. And also like there's all of these like little like particle effects, like the rain, like the way that the rain smoothly hits and stuff like that. Like the game itself couldn't have been made then.
No.
Like I mean, like I guess it could, but not as it is what I'm saying. Um, which is just really funny to me. It's like it has to have all these signifiers, but at the same time, it's not like, it is very much a modern game. Like, say if like, all right, so there was like this soft lock, but like that wasn't like a soft lock in like King's Quest 5 where you didn't throw the boot at a rat. It
Ugh.
was like it was a soft lock because of like just a glitch. And so it's just very like, this is in order to let people know this is an adventure game, this is like, it's got to have that pixel look, but not
It's so much
really.
more. I mean, yeah, you look at the like screenshots on Steam.
The Steam shots on screen.
Well, it is a Steam train you're on.
It
So
is.
technically they're
You
all
have a
Steam
long
shots.
conversation about it with an old
Yes.
woman.
Yes. But, I mean, yeah, the screenshots you could easily look at and be like, oh, this is just like old fashioned pixel art sort of stuff. And then when you see the game actually
In
in
motion.
motion,
In
in play,
Loco motion.
yes, they even have like cute little details, like it's a lavishly decorated train, so there's chandeliers in some of the rooms and stuff.
Yeah.
But they're always wobbling slightly to remind you of the motion of the train. What a nice little
Right.
detail!
Yep.
That's good stuff. I don't know that I've seen a much prettier traditional pixel art game.
Yeah. I mean, it looks. I wouldn't go that far. I mean, there's some really beautiful pixel
Nope,
art.
this is the best.
I wouldn't go that far.
Well, I think we can agree it's the best.
I just wouldn't. I can't.
Well, I mean, you could.
Not as long as Hobbs Barrow is out there.
Listen, Ben, we need this checked clear.
Right. Oh, cut this. Cut this.
Edit this out. This is non-sponsored content. No, I'm joking.
And
That's
this is
obviously
where I remind the listeners of the ethics policy of Quest.
at least one of us will play every game we review.
Yeah. The ethics policy is give us free games, and I'll say whatever you want. All right.
Yeah.
Now,
or give us here. Let me put this out there. Give us your competitors' games, and we will say bad things about those.
Yeah.
We will accept anti-sponsorships.
Yeah.
Maybe we could pioneer that in the podcasting world.
Oh my God, we could be, yes. Like what are like, it's like we become like the first podcast, like we get paid by Squarespace to do like anti-Wix ads.
Absolutely.
Hey Jess, I just went to a website made by Wix. It sucks shit.
Hey Ben, you know what I had for dinner tonight?
What?
Hello Fresh. And you know what?
Yeah.
It tasted like shit. You know what's good though is Factor Meals.
Hey, Jess. I'm having an anxiety attack because a BetterHelp therapist just told me it was that it's my fault, not my parents.
Who paid for that one? Your parents?
Yeah, that one's brought to you by. Why don't you just have a conversation with your parents? I suppose. I don't know. Promo code. Why not?
No, this is a new revenue stream.
Quest podcast at gmail.com if you want us to do any anti-sponsorships. The cost is $5,000.
Or
Now,
a free game.
yeah. Now, so I will say one thing. Like, I want to say I've really, really been enjoying this. I will say, I also appreciate. I think the game is very well clued, and even on like a couple, like there are a couple things I've needed a nudge on, but there's like one little puzzle in part 2 that stumped me a bit, but it was like once like I got the solution, I was like, they put the clues there.
Yeah,
The
it's
clues
very
are
well
there.
signposted.
It is definitely, they make sure that if you talk to like any good adventure game, if you talk to everyone and like observe everything, you can eventually math it out. And all of the puzzles, so like not all of them, but like the vast majority of them are like, this is the style of adventure game that won is, it's like inventory and dialogue puzzles, just mash shit together. One thing I'll say that is my criticism so far, uh 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 getting to about midway through the game, is that um there is like, it's a remarkably linear game, which is totally fine. I don't have a problem with that.
You literally walk back and forth in a line the entire game
Yes, yeah,
as you
you
go
are on a
up and down a
train,
train.
and you're just running back and forth.
Yeah.
But sometimes like you'll be given multiple objectives. It's like, Salt, like you have to figure out X, Y, and Z, but it's not like, say in any given LucasArts game, like LucasArts adventure games love to say like, all right, here's your like X, Y, and Z. You can do that in any order. It is specifically, you do like Y, then Z, then X, and you might have even the inventory and a germ in your mind of, it's like, okay, well, I have this thing and I know that, okay, like, but how do I, and and the game isn't like that, at least so far.
Yeah.
Like the game is not like, you know as I said, like any LucasArts game, which gives you that, like, after like the first segment, you enter a big, like the 3 trials where it's just like, oh, you have to,
Right.
or the map pieces in Monkey Island 2 or whatever. It's a very specific order. You do it exactly as it is. And sometimes, because you do have a lot of inventory items, which I do like about this game, actually.
Yes.
You have a ton of inventory items, and so many modern adventure games are light on inventory items because of the problem that I have, which is that I'm like, well, then it just becomes kind of confusing. You just, including, I had a couple inventory items, at least so far, that I haven't done anything with.
Oh no, me too. And I think it's interesting. Like I've had some cases where it's like, sure, you can just pick up this random thing that nobody would want to have. It's like there's a lemon sitting on the bar. Sure, grab a lemon and carry it around in your pockets, no problem. But another point in the game, I saw an inventory item that I really wanted to pick up,
right?
Because I'd anticipated the puzzle that it seemed to be about. But I needed to observe something before my character thought it was worth picking that item up. which it kind of bounces back and forth. Some inventory items and some puzzles, you have to trigger the thing before your character will want to pick it up. Others, it's like, yeah, you can just amass everything. It's not nailed down.
Right.
I wouldn't say it's consistent with it necessarily, but
No. And that's a mild irritation on my
yeah, I mean,
part
again, yeah,
because it's like, yeah, I play adventure games the way that I play them, the way that I've been trained to play them, which is just pick up every fucking thing and then
yeah.
talk to everybody and then, figure out how all those things match together. And
Mhm.
then like it's like that the game kind of is like, yeah, you can like pick up, the lemon even though you have no purpose to, but then you like later, look at like another thing, which yeah, sure, like we're both being vague because we don't want to spoil anything, but yeah, like
The most inventory ass looking piece of inventory possible.
right, yes, I know we're talking about the same thing. And like, yeah, he looks at it and he's like, oh, I don't like I don't need that.
Yeah,
And like I look at that and I'm like, I know you need that.
you need
Don't
that more than half the
don't
things you're carrying right now.
don't bullshit me.
Yeah,
You need that. If you're going to just pick up every fucking thing and then be like, oh, I don't know if I need that yet. Yeah,
it's more useful than half the things you're carrying.
it's more useful than a lemon.
Yeah, take that, lemons.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of silly. Like there are tiny little things like that in the game which, kind of annoy me, but like they're not like to be clear, this is a thoroughly enjoyable game and
I'm
yeah,
charmed way more by it than I am annoyed by these
right.
little picky details. I mean, tell me if you agree with this. You mentioned how well signposted most of the puzzles are. Again, if you're being an observant, you know, just like careful to click on everything sort of adventure player, you should get so far in the game, as far as I've gone, the kind of clues you need. It's hard for me to say as like a grognard of this genre. I feel like this is one that maybe more so than others might be accessible to someone who hasn't played a bunch of adventure games. I mean, would you say this feels like it's maybe newcomer friendly, or is it so steeped in the nostalgia that like this is an impenetrable genre to anyone who's not already in it?
Oh
You're
man.
making a
That's
thoughtful.
tough. I will say like so the game has the thing that all like a lot of these modern ones have, which is like it will give you hints. I will say that there was a puzzle, and maybe I'm just a dummy, but like there's a little sequence around the start of part 3 that I found kind of like I was like I had the pieces. It's a very common adventure game thing where it's like I had all of the pieces and I knew what I had to do, but I didn't
Mm-hmm.
know how to do it. Like I was just like,
Yes.
okay, I see what I have, and I
Mm-hmm.
know that the solution involves this and doing this. I just don't know, like I just don't know what you want, how you
Yes.
want me to do this, but I know that I have to do this, right?
Why don't you just tell me what you want me to do?
Right. And so the game has a couple of those too. And I don't know. I think like I I think the game is more accessible than telling someone it's like you should play Monkey Island and having them play it and get like kind of confused or whatever, like kind of frustrated. But I think it does like it is an adventure game. Uh,
That's the first strike against it.
like it is an adventure game and unapologetic, like that's actually the most entertaining
Yes.
thing about it. Like it's an unapologetic adventure game and it looks great. And then another thing that we haven't talked about as much is I think the voice work in it is extremely good.
Excellent.
Like the
Music's very good.
performances are all very very funny.
Mm-hmm.
um I think that it is accessible in as much as like to people who Like, it might be a good gateway drug in the sense that it is pretty funny early on, and it offers a lot of like stuff for you to do without like being gated pretty
Yeah.
early. And it does kind of have a nice little click of difficulty up as it goes. Like the earliest puzzles are all pretty, you're like, okay, like someone says they need this, and then you look in your inventory and you have that, and you're like, here you go, and that's that. Like, um
That's my level of puzzling.
yeah. So my response to that would be, yeah. I think if someone is interested in playing adventure games, but they're not like, but they're not interested in playing something made in the 90s, it might be worth giving a shot, especially because you can play it on a Switch or you can play it on a
Yeah.
deck. Like,
It's got that 90s juice without, being full of like constant callbacks to the games that everyone, played in the 90s that inspired this one. I think it's a good mix in that regard. Now, I do. I mean, I feel like it's the sort of game. I mean, I guess the best review I could give of it is, if you look at the screenshots on Steam, if you watch the trailer and you think, oh, that looks pretty cute, you're gonna like it.
yeah,
It follows through on the promise it gives you. Absolutely. I mean, it is what it says on the tin. It is a charming, funny point and click adventure game with multiple protagonists and a fun little murder mystery driving the plot.
yeah, that's
It's
it.
good stuff.
Yeah,
It's
check it
just,
out. Loco Motion.
Yeah.
Use code.
Yeah. Ben gives it how many bins out of 10?
I give it.
Our classic rating system we use in every episode. The Ben 10
I mean,
rating
I haven't.
system.
Ugh. I haven't.
I'm sorry, was that
I haven't
dramatic?
finished. I haven't finished. I will not. I will not. I will not rate until I've finished. But it's
have
good. Oh yeah, play
not
it.
finished either. I'll give it a 8.9. I'm not going to tell you out of how many.
Wow.
Maybe that's the highest score. Maybe it's a 100-point scale.
Yeah.
You'll never know.
Yeah. Oh, locomotive. I've been saying locomotion. Locomotion is a
Kylie Minogue song.
how am I the gay one? Not like I didn't even know that. Anyway, I was going to say it's like a not particularly good, like kind of modern remake of Chris Sawyer's Transport Tycoon Deluxe, but it's also a Kylie Minogue song. I've just been informed.
I mean this is cultural exchange.
Yeah. All right, but yeah,
Ben,
it's good. What's up?
Yeah. No, I mean, I guess I only had one more question in my notes, and you can pass on this.
Okay, pass.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for listening to Quest
Go.
the Adventure Game
What's
Podcast.
Up? What's up?
Let's say, and God forbid,
I died.
let's say, yeah, you were murdered. That is literally the question.
Okay.
What adventure game detective would you want trying to solve your murder?
Adventure game detectives. Nancy Drew.
Nancy Drew?
Mornings at Waverly Place.
That's a good answer. Do you just like that she would like at least not like stress herself out? Like she'd take occasional breaks to like work in the snack bar and things like that. You wouldn't want to like consume her every thought, right?
Yeah, that she's like a teenager that has obviously the voice of someone in their 30s. I mean, I know, like, I mean, Bart Simpson is like a 60-year-old woman. Like, that's fine, whatever.
That
I'm
upset
being
my daughter so
unfair.
much to find out.
Really?
When she was a young child and she's like, I don't know how I feel about this. First, she didn't believe it. She was doubtful when she saw Nancy Cartwright in action. She's like, that's not Bart. And I was like, it sounds an awful lot like Bart, don't you think?
Have you ever watched it? I mean, you must have, be based off of this anecdote. It is very strange. Like if you watch like Dan Castaneda, like if you see him talk in Homer voice, it's not like video footage of him talking in it. Like he'll be talking in his normal voice, which is not too far, but then like he does the Homer voice, and like you just it looks like someone in my head, it looks like he's being dubbed. Because I'm just like, that's not the voice. That voice actually comes out of a yellow
A
cartoon
yellow man. Yeah,
Like
yellow
that does
man.
not
Yeah,
come out
yellow
of
cartoon man. Yeah.
like, you know, like that doesn't come out of a bald man sitting on Conan. Like it comes out of a yellow cartoon character.
Yeah. And
That
that was
is
absolutely the feeling I think my daughter got when she first found out that Bart was not a 10-year-old boy.
right. I
We're all
mean, did
there.
you
I mean,
tell her it's like this show's 37 years old or whatever? Like
this show's almost as old as me.
yeah, like this show. I mean, it's younger than 37, but not too much.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
No.
yeah, like this show is multiple times your age, little girl.
But no, I mean, I think Nancy Drew is a good answer. I think Nancy Drew, I mean, I think she could solve your murder.
Yeah, me too.
Who do you think would probably be the murderer?
Grayson.
Yes.
But who would you want to solve it? I don't know, Gabriel Knight.
No, that's too obvious. Like, my first instinct was Sam and Max because it would probably mean I'd been killed in some absurd, hilarious way, and I
Yeah.
kind of like that idea. Like, if I'm going to die, well, actually, I guess the ideal way I'd want to die is impaled by a pterodactyl's beak.
Mhm.
So maybe it's Laura Bow. Maybe I need to get like the Dagger of Amun Ra experience,
Yeah.
because I feel like that feels like how I might go.
Well, I mean, you are a professor, so you know you could fit into a Laura Bow type situation because
That's
like
true.
aren't there professors in both games? I mean, certainly there is in Amun Ra. Is there a
There, I
professor
believe.
in Bequest?
Yeah, I think there is, isn't there? I think
It's been a long time since I've
it's
played
been a
it.
long time. But no, I mean, yeah, maybe Laura Bow. Maybe how about Bigby Wolf from The Wolf Among Us?
Never played those. I know you're a fan. I never played those.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but I mean, the important thing is, I hope someone investigates our murders.
yeah. Well, folks, thank you for listening to Quest, the adventure game podcast. You can please rate and review. Follow us on Twitch, PS_Garrick and Decaf Jedi. Send us an email, questpodcast@gmail.com. And join us next week when we discuss Kylie Minogue's new adventure game. It's going to be amazing. It's brand new news to me. All right, let's go.